Welcome to the Creative Minds Smart Money podcast, where we turn financial confusion into creative confidence. I'm Samantha Eck, bookkeeper and fractional CFO for creative entrepreneurs. Each week, I'm sharing my financial expertise and actionable strategies to help you build a thriving creative business. Plus, you'll hear from industry experts who bring fresh perspectives on growing your business beyond the numbers. Because building a successful creative business starts with strong financial foundations. Your next chapter starts now. Welcome back to another episode of Creative Minds Smart Money. And today we're talking about an interesting topic because I have talked before about how I'm not a big fan of debt and things like that. But I want to talk about debt in a positive light today. And I want to talk about why you're going to wish you built business credit 3 years from now and just kind of the reasoning for that. So, of course, there's sometimes things happen when a creative business needs financing and the business credit profile that would have made it easy to do so was never set up. And why the right time to start is before you actually need it. So why you want to start building up this business credit. Now, I want to be clear that business credit and personal credit are often two separate things. While they start out being intertwined, the longer that you have your business, the more that you get reached out to by business creditors that are looking at your business profile and not your personal profile. So it does not touch your personal credit, which is why we kind of want to get a feel for it. So one of the things we want to talk about is the pattern in years 2 and 3 of businesses. So what happens after we've been in business for quite a few years and things are starting to shift and change. And a lot of creative businesses arrive at either the third or second year of their business without any business credit at all. And there's a moment that they realize that it becomes a problem. So, of course, the business started off with a personal credit card and never moved off it. Maybe that's what you've done is you got a personal credit card like a Capital One or an American Express, and you've only used it for your like your business, but it's still personal, like it's under your personal credit, right? So, for example, if we're using my name, for example, Samantha's credit is being positively affected by this Capital One card that I opened for my business, but I've never opened anything under Firestorm Finance, right? So that's where we're seeing that delineation is that it's under Samantha, but it's not under Firestorm Finance. Now, that's not actually the truth. I have business credit, but there's something that we want to talk about there. Now, of course, you could say I have great personal credit and you felt like that's enough, but it hasn't been anything that you've need big enough to be financed yet. So when we are looking and we're thinking about our business and we're thinking about everything, a credit profile takes time to build, right? Like your personal credit profile has taken time to get to where it's at. A business profile is going to take 6 months to build. And of course, if it was never started, when financing comes up, you just don't have that. You don't have that built up, right? So the realization that you need that and then when it happens is usually the worst possible moment when something needs to be funded fast. So just as a plain as day example, let's say that you're a graphic designer and you really need this new computer or this new tablet that's going to allow you to draw things better, whatever it is. And it costs you thousands of dollars. And you don't have that, but you know that if you could get financing for it, it would really help you to spread things out. And you know that I'm anti-financing. You know that I'm anti-payment plan, but sometimes these things are a necessity. And sometimes you need something now, but you cannot have the funding access to it. So you need to be smart about it. You need to plan around it, everything like that. But for something that you maybe have planned around, you're like, hey, I need the funding for this. We can afford this. We can afford this monthly payment. We can afford to buy this thing. If you don't have that business credit built up, it's not going to be what you need it to be, right? Because if you go to a bank and you ask for $10,000, but you've never had a business credit profile built up, they're going to look at you and say, I don't think we can do that because they don't see any sort of credit on your business. What does your business credit actually control? Because of course, that's something we want to ask ourselves. What is really the difference between my business and personal credit? What does this profile change about your financial life beyond the ability to just get a credit card? Like what's the point? And why is personal credit not interchangeable again? Like what is the difference between the two? The financing tiers that you qualify for, so that your business will qualify for, depends on your business profile, not just your personal one. And oftentimes it'll just depend on your business profile. A lot of these financing companies that work with businesses are looking at what you're bringing in your business. They're looking at how you can handle financing in your business. They're looking at all those things. Personal guarantee requirements do relax when the business has its own credit history. So if you have bad personal credit, but your business has a phenomenal business credit, they are more than likely going to go with your your business credit and ignore your personal credit, because they're like, oh, your business has had a great history. We want to make sure that we look at that. You also have, vendor terms and lines of credits like net 30, net 60 terms that open up when your business has been reporting payments. So oftentimes, let's say, you are a bigger business. Maybe you own a screen printing company and you want to get terms with a vendor. They're going to want to look at your profit loss, but they're also going to want to look at your credit history. They're going to want to see that you've been making payments on time to all these obligations that you might have. The separation is also going to protect your personal credit from a business side if anything happens, if anything is going wrong, which matters more later than what you're going to think, right? Because you're like, oh, it doesn't matter really a whole lot now, but let's say you miss a payment on the business side, just as an example, that now hits your personal side as well, right? Whereas if you just have that on business credit, it's going to hit your business side, but it's not going to hit your personal. So there's just a lot of things that you want to consider and a lot of things that you want to think about in terms of business and personal credit. Again, I am so anti-business debt of any kind. I'm so anti-business credit or financing or things like that. But there comes a point when it's necessary, especially when you have these big projects. A lot of times things like copywriting or website designs can cost upwards of $8,000. And if you need that immediately and you're like, hey, my business needs this upgrade now, financing is sometimes the only option that we have and sometimes the only thing that we have on this plate. Now, when I talk with my clients about this and we talk about credit and we talk about things like that, if they're thinking of financing things and they're thinking that we really do need to finance this, it's a 2 to 3 year conversation. There's a 2 to 3 year conversation that I want to have with clients, and there is a 5 to 6 year conversation that we have to have that's a lot harder, right? So with year 2 to 3, we want to talk about starting to build a credit profile now when we don't need it. So the next 5 months or the next 12 months are going to obviously pay off when we go later down the road, and maybe we need to finance something even bigger. Maybe our business has grown. Maybe we need a building, maybe whatever it is. We've got that kind of financing set up and we're ready to go. So we're starting to build that profile. And essentially what I would tell them to do is just put like a singular subscription on a card or on a line of credit and just pay it off every month. That way you're building that credit and you're building up that profile, similar to how you would with a personal card, right? With year 5 to 6 without a profile, we are going to have to look at here's what financing is going to cost you that it didn't have to. Because when you have a better credit profile, your financing is going to cost you less. Sometimes they cost less fees. Sometimes they cost less in insurance, all these different types of things. The difference is years of patience and setting up and having that conversation in a few hours instead of having something that's going to cost you more later. It's also a conversation where I refer to a financial advisor for the bigger financing strategy, because of course that's not my lane. I don't know much about all these financing things. So we connect with someone who is an advisor that can help you with a lot of that strategy. Now, what does a real credit building plan look like? Like, what do we need to do to build the credit for our business so that we can actually set ourselves up properly and have some sort of backlog whenever we are ready to maybe finance something if it's needed? What is actually involved, and why is this a project, not just something that's really quick? So there's 3 prerequisites to what is involved with this profile. First of all is an EIN. A lot of business owners think, oh, I don't need an EIN. Even if they have an LLC, some of them don't ever get an EIN because maybe they just think they're going to be just them. But an EIN is so simple to get. It literally takes you like 5 minutes. You don't even need to pay anyone to get it. It'll take you a couple seconds to go into the IRS website and get an EIN. You need a real business bank account. That means an account that is under your business. It's under your EIN. It's with a business bank. It's recognizable. And you need vendors that report payments to commercial credit bureaus. So you don't just need yourself. You need to actually have vendors that are reporting to that. The first business card is a sequencing question, not a pick any question. So you want to really look at that business card, look at what it will give you, look at what it's going to offer your business and offer you as a credit. And then, of course, if we're getting a line of credit, there's a discipline in making sure it's paid in full every month and stop sliding into debt. Because if we're building credit, we want it to be good credit. We don't want to have any sort of debt. We don't want to build up any sort of process of debt. We want to make sure that we are building up good credit by paying it off monthly, just like I said. And of course, there is a 6 to 12-month timeline before the profile is actually usable so that we can have those bigger asks, so we can ask for 10,000, so that we can ask for 20,000, so we can ask for 50,000, A lot of smaller creatives this isn't necessarily going to affect you, but if you are someone who has aspirations of a building for employees, if you're someone who has aspirations of buying computers for all of your employees and, having a place that you can congregate, maybe you have a dream of that. That's something that you really want to think about, is this credit conversation. Because in the future, that's going to be something that you're definitely going to need. And again, we don't want that to turn into debt, but that's definitely something that we need to analyze and see if that's an option that we can kind of work into. How do we make sure that we're getting that paid down properly, right? There are signs that you might be paying in the fact that you don't have a credit profile built up already by not having any of this, right? And how do you know what this gap is and if it's costing you anything? And what will it look like if it's silently hitting you, right? So first of all, specific points that is if you can't get vendor terms like net 30, net 60, because the business doesn't have a history or credit to check. So these vendors aren't willing to give you these terms because there is no history. You've never had a line of credit or a credit card. They can't see that you're making consistent payments. They're not going to give you any sort of terms because they don't know if they can trust you. If every business card application has to come with a personal guarantee and you've stopped applying because of it, that's, again, another thing that you've noticed that's affecting you. If a piece of equipment or a studio space conversation died because you just didn't have the financing to be able to afford it because you're looking at your numbers or you're looking at your business credit and you're like, this isn't something that anyone is ever going to approve me for. And if you're funding business expansion out of personal credit, it's obviously a different kind of expensive because now that's building on your personal debt side instead of building on the business debt side, which is the thing that we really want to see it grow on and where we really want to see this transformation happen. Now, the business credit conversation sits inside of a bigger strategy question, inside of a bigger CFO conversation about how we're going to fund the next stage of our business. And we look at that with our forecast. We look at that with our cash architecture. We look at that with our financing. We kind of pulled that all together to really make sure that we could afford this and that financing is something that's going to be recommendable at that stage. So that's the type of conversations that we have when we are talking with those CFO conversations. So if the second half of your year has a bigger investment on the horizon, maybe you have bigger plans for your business and you need to talk about financing, but you're not sure if that's something that you can afford, then let's have a conversation about it. Let's chat about it and let's really see if that's something that we can get you into, okay? As always, you guys, if you like this episode, please make sure to like it, share it, subscribe, share it with friends, family, whoever, so that we can get more people listening to this podcast so that we can have more conversations like this. As always, you guys, I do wish you the best week ever, and we'll see you next week. Farewell, my fellow travelers.